Good afternoon, Chris. We're live now, so we're going to have a nice chat about what we're doing at 12 Ronnies, about mentoring, about capturing business ideas. How are you this afternoon?
Yeah, very well, Simon. Very much looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, well, I just thought that it would be a good opportunity for us to just delve into some of the things that we're doing at 12 Ronnies, and for people that are both listening live, but also from the video materials we can share to really create some content here. And really in the spirit of that, I wanted to start off with just showing people or guiding them to our main website. So along the bottom, you'll see on the screen on the ticker 12ronnies.com. And really the most important, or the first way to get involved with us, there's a red button which you can take our startup quiz. It's a quiz to really explain, when you answer a few questions, it'll give you an idea of where you are in the process. Have you got an idea and you need to do some more validation data? Do you need to do a bit more research? Are you ready to start being mentored on the idea or having some coaching on it? Are you ready to move forward to launching based on the evidence you've got? So it's all around that. If I do a quick screen share of the 12 Ronnies site. So our homepage. So this is all about, we take entrepreneurs on a journey to launching a successful business. This is all about launching business to customers, by the way. That's what 12 Ronnies do. It's all about customers. And the red button as you come down is your startup quiz here. And that's where you would take your startup quiz. Now, let me stop my screen share. So that's essentially 12 Ronnies. Now, Chris, I wonder if you could, I've got a few questions that I thought we could discuss. Really around business ideas, around mentoring, around capturing ideas, all of that type of thing. So if I put up, let's take off our topic. If I put up first question, Chris, well, how do founders normally proceed when they come up with a business idea? What's the normal way of doing things that you've found in your experience?
Well, I came up with a kind of Goldilocks metaphor, which I thought might be quite entertaining. Sometimes people can move way too quickly in the wrong direction, so they're too hot. They seek funding too quickly. They launch blind. They spend loads of money on making mistakes, and then before you know it, they've run out of money, or they've not made the right connections, or they've launched something that doesn't have any customers. And then the too cold option is they move too slowly. So they never share an idea for validation by anybody, even people that trust them, because they're so worried about people stealing their idea. And of course, that never happens unless you're a really successful company like Apple or Microsoft or something like that. So that you really do have to keep your IP close. And the other thing that happens is that people get frozen to the spot. They kind of, they lack confidence. They fear failure. They don't have any connections to anybody that knows anything. So really what 12 Ronnies does, if you like, is it helps people find the middle option or the just right option where people can actually, get the advice they need, meet up with people who can really help them, and really sort of feel good about launching their startup.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's one of the things I've found actually is, with my experience of mentoring startups, is so many of them jump into the creation mode. So they come up with an idea and they go straight to, let's build a product, let's build around our service, instead of doing what you talked about there, validating the idea. So looking at there's a customer demand. So that's why I've seen so many founders normally proceed creation.
Yeah, the problem there is that if you've had an idea, that it's natural as a human being to get excited by it. And if you're sharing it with your friends or your family, like people talk about the mum test, don't they? If you tell your mum that you've had an idea, she's bound to say it's brilliant, because she's your mum. So it's kind of, you get into this bubble of people telling you how brilliant you are, and you don't have any external validation about whether it's any good. So
and that's where I guess the idea of validation comes in. I mean, really following on then, why are so many business ideas doomed to failure? Is it because they go into the creation mode too early? In your experience, Chris?
That's the top reason. Top reason is that people don't, in kind of simple terms, they forget to find out whether they've got any customers. It's like they just launch, yeah. I mean, there's a useful infographic that was one of the things that really got us off the ground with 12 Ronnies, which was like the 20 top reasons why businesses fail.
I remember that one.
An organization called CB Insights. And the top three, the number one was lack of validation, which we've already talked about. The next one was running out of operating cash. And essentially that's partly this, it's a kind of similar thing because people get so, in love with their own idea that they just think, wow, everybody in the world is going to give us money. So they spend loads of time trying to seek inward investment. And then they run out of operating cash because they can't keep the lights switched on and nobody's going to give them any money.
And I guess with that, it's operating cash. I mean, most businesses are bootstrapped. They're not really ready for investment, or they're not investable, and even then, if they're saying that they're running out of operating cash, that's probably due to lack of sales, which means that they haven't done their work on finding customers at the beginning and the customer segments. So it's probably part of the same thing.
Yeah, it can be a slow death. Or it can be that if you've got some investment, then sometimes people go wild and they spend loads of money on things that aren't important, like having an expensive office or blowing it on a launch or something, things like that. And then the third thing is lack of cohesion within the team who are launching the business. So it might be that you're on different pages when it comes to vision or strategy. Or it might be that you start fighting with people about equity, again, way too early, because there's no equity in a thing that doesn't exist.
So given these reasons why so many ideas are doomed to failure, what role can mentors play in helping founders with their ideas? Where does mentorship come in for startups?
Well, you're kind of like a kind of trusted ally. I mean, you need to have a kind of contract, if you like, with the mentee, the person that you're talking to, who needs to agree that they're going to go on the process with an open mind, and actually weigh up the assumptions that they've made. I mean, it's pointless going into a mentoring relationship if they're just not going to listen to you, or not going to engage properly. But I've got a few things which are kind of generic things that mentors bring to the party. Essentially, a mentor can listen to what the person is talking about in terms of a new idea, and you can dive deeper into what somebody is actually talking about when it comes to a new business by simply asking questions. You listen to them, and then you ask questions about what it is that the founder is thinking of launching. And the second one is guidance. So you're listening and you're trying to work out what does the mentee actually need in terms of resources or contacts, or maybe some advice, or maybe an anecdote from your own experience, that kind of thing. And that leads on to expertise. As an experienced person, then you can share knowledge, you can share experience. So that helps to them to feel as though you actually know what you're talking about when it comes to giving them some advice. And then lastly, support. So you can you can support them by, as I say, sharing links, contacts, ideas, suggestions, and really just getting involved in discussions about strategy and tactics, really, in terms of how to launch the business.
Yeah, I find personally, if I've got, because over time I built up my own network, if I can share my network, as you said, support, introductions, that can often bring quite a good benefit. And one of the things that's been really useful for us as mentors at 12 Ronnies is because we're with a whole group of other mentors that have different industry sectors, or some might focus more on marketing, some might focus more on IP. We've always been able to refer other mentors to our mentees and founders. Yeah. Now, Chris, I've just seen that we have a actually, a comment come in. So or a message from Uncle Bill, customer design. Okay, but Bill asks, how do I know when it's time to scale my product, and how do I avoid expensive mistakes at that stage? So it's about scaling. When
Well, I mean, but the implication of scale, you can't scale when you've not launched. So you need to launch first. And it's a case of, if you can do before you've actually launched, if you can actually do some, pre-ordering experiments, testing out with different audiences, try and find out who your ideal customers are, then that's all to the good, so that when you do actually launch, you're actually launching with a bang, rather than trying to find out who your customers are once you've actually launched.
And I guess scaling is moving from a startup, which is into a proper company. And how do you know when you're ready to move from a startup, which is essentially a group of people that are experimenting, that are looking for a product market fit, if you like, that are working their way through their business model, so that the startup still, it might have made some sales, but it's still trying to figure out its business model, its customer segments, its product market fit.
There's one other thing I would share, Simon, is that if you're offering different paid resources, then if you have some fairly cheap things that people can buy at the beginning, then essentially what you're doing is you're purchasing a kind of petty cash fund that pays for your Facebook ads or pays for your social media promotion. And then in the back end, if you've got some more expensive things like high ticket offer that you want to try and get people to buy, because essentially scaling is all about, it's not just about increasing the number of people who are buying from you, it's actually getting them to buy the more expensive stuff. That once you start running some ad campaigns that pay for themselves, then hopefully you're actually going to get people at the back end who are going to buy some expensive things from you.
Yeah, and scaling, I guess you have to scale not just more expensive products, but actually scaling to the market, your key offering. And so it's about discovering your business model. Thank you, Bill.
And also aligning, let's say you've got a product, making sure that you've actually got the capacity to fulfill orders, things like that.
Yeah. No, that's I mean, that's I guess getting your business model right. So in terms of your role as a mentor, Chris,
yes,
is there a particular area you focus on? How do you help founders? Because I know that you, for instance, you work more with creatives than I do.
Well, it's true, but the process of launching a creative project is essentially the same as launching a traditional startup business. I mean, so the touch points are exactly the same, really. I've got some headings of the kinds of things that mentors can help with through the process of launching a new project, whether that's a startup business or a creative project. So I'll just run through those quickly. I've got idea validation and refinement. So right at the beginning, is the idea any good? Secondly, business planning and strategy.
Oh, very good.
Network building and access. Skill development and knowledge transfer. How to avoid common pitfalls. And then at the back end, just offering emotional support and being like a cheerleader, if you like. So,
and of the ones you mentioned, Chris, which ones are you, let's say, focus on in your mentoring? So if somebody came to you as a mentor, which parts are you? Because we're all stronger in different elements.
Yeah, no, I think it depends on the person. It depends on what the person's looking for. I think that the important thing at the beginning is just to listen to what people are asking you to guide them on. If they're right at the beginning, then it might be idea validation. If if they're a bit further along and they don't know the right people, but they've already tested the idea, then maybe you can help them with introductions or some anecdotes of things that work well for you, or So I think it depends. I mean, I think you're just really, I mean, in these days of AI, which I'm sure we'll come on to, in a way, a mentor is a bit like a sort of ChatGPT type thing, where you're given a prompt by the mentee, and depending on what they ask you, you kind of make, you help them with interventions, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I was my next question was around some of those stories, and I'll actually start off with one which was to do with AI. So I was on one of these subreddits and looking at new product launches and some of the really interesting things that the people are doing with new product launches, mainly software as a service product launches. And I mentioned that I'm a mentor for startups, and I was offering some insights and some help. And I got flooded then with a bunch of questions all about their business ideas and particular parts of doing startups. And what I found worked really well for me was giving a short insight from my experience from what they've asked, but sometimes their questions were quite specialized, and I didn't have the scope, let's say, of being on a 30-minute Zoom call with them to understand better. So my trusty assistant, ChatGPT, I was putting into there, and I realized afterwards that my answers were a combination of my experience and then the expertise of my AI, and it made me look like probably a better mentor than I really was if it was being run live. So
I think in that situation, Simon, you had the experience of knowing whether or not the AI is telling you things that are rubbish, or whether what it's suggesting are actually valuable insights.
Interestingly, there's a lot of data and a lot of information around startups, and a lot of advice that's given and a lot that's published, that I've found that the AIs are they're fairly well versed in customer segments and unique selling propositions and all the different parts of starting a business. I think that particular stage of starting a business, and AI is very, very useful. So, or at least I've found, sense checking what they say, I go, yeah, that's spot on. What about some of your stories, Chris?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to bring it back to some of the things that I've been engaged with while I've been part of the 12 Ronnies community. So, I mean, so far at Founders and Mentors, which is our community space, the mentoring that's been taking place has been fairly ad hoc. So you tend to only really end up mentoring somebody maybe for 1 or 2 sessions at a particular moment in their journey. So we haven't so far had the systematic record keeping to actually keep, to actually have measurement about whether people have actually acted on your, your meetings, or whether it was successful or not. But that was something that we're going to change, because it's coming quite soon. We've got a premium mentoring program which people can buy into, where there's it's a more long-term engagement over time, where measurement and assessment will be an important part of the process. So we'll be able to actually follow people on their journey much more closely. And the other things that I've done, within the 12 Ronnies, universe, I've also helped out with mentoring with a lot of universities.
Okay.
Two in particular. For many years now, I've been part of the Generator Challenge for the University of Greenwich, which is just down the road from where I work. They have a program, regular meetings with people. There are pitching competitions. There's actually some money involved for people who win.
Okay.
And this coming Sunday, I've been invited to be a judge on their 2025 panel of deciding who gets the money for this year's competition. And the other university I'd mention is with Bradford. I've been Bradford University in the north of England. I've been invited to give lectures as a visiting lecturer on a couple of occasions. So I've gone up there to chat to them about networking, was the thing that they were particularly interested in.
Yeah.
And the last thing is my Wisdom of Coffee group. Essentially, anybody that wants to chat with me, which essentially is a glorified mentoring session.
Yeah, I love that.
They know that they can show up on a Monday morning in the UK or a Thursday afternoon in the UK, and I will always be there if other people show up. So there's always an opportunity to get hold of me if people really do want to have a conversation about something that they need answers to.
Brilliant. Well, I've got a question from Mohammed in the comments. Before I go on to Mohammed's question, just my follow-up question from what you said there is, how can people get engaged with 12 Run? How can they, we help people start businesses. I've put the link on running on the ticker tape at the bottom. But how can people who are looking to start a business engage with 12 Ronnies, Chris?
Well, I think the thing is that we cover all the bases, but in terms of an entry point, you need to know where you need to know the position that you're in, and the best way of doing that is to take the quiz. So to go on the homepage at 12 Ronnies, it's simple. That we don't want to overcomplicate things for people, and you just press the red button and you take the quiz, and essentially the different options within the quiz. So you've got an ideas stage, an investment stage, a launch stage, and a scaling stage. Depending on which stage you choose in the quiz, it will then offer you the opportunity to engage with different kinds of resources. So you'll be, guided, or the navigation will take you to a place to find resources that you would actually find useful for your startup.
Good. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Well, I'll refer to the question from Mohammed. Let me just. So if I read this question, he's asking, how can I position my agency as a premium service rather than competing on low prices? And this is quite a common thing that I guess we get asked quite a lot. As high ticket clients usually go with an agency that has a prior record in the market, reviews, all these sort of portfolios that they can demonstrate. So how can Mohammed position his agency as a premium service?
I think the first thing to do is to actually find a narrow niche. Low prices gives the impression that maybe you're just offering generic services to anybody that comes along. Whereas if you can identify some people who've actually got money, and they're not being served by the current situation. So I don't know, take a silly example, dentists, let's say, you are somebody that wants to get into the health sector, and you've worked out that dentists aren't very good at developing websites that work or doing social media or whatever. Then because you become a specialist in the dental area, then and you're talking to people who are dentists, maybe you have a podcast, you invite dentists onto your podcast, then you've got more of a chance of them actually seeing you as the expert in that niche.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that niche and they're spending money with you, then maybe you can expand out or slightly expand your range, so that maybe you might go from dentists to doctors who work in hospitals or whatever it happens to be. So so that's what I would do. I'd find a lucrative niche.
Yeah, and that's really good advice. The other thing I would say, Mohammed, is that one thing to focus on is the transformation that you're making for your clients. So rather than just giving them information about what you do, it's talking to them about the transformation. So you as an agency, let's say you produce websites, rather than talking about, well, I can produce you these websites, what are they really wanting from their website? Normally more clients. So if you can talk to them about what you do as a premium service with your websites, is put websites together that give them more clients, and you focus on that side of things, you can start to focus on that premium service rather than saying, I'm in with all the other web developers out there. So that's also another approach. Chris, coming back to and please, anybody that has any questions, please put them in the comments, and we'll have a go at answering them. What the other thing that I wanted to talk about, we captured ideas. Okay, so we start off. If you've got a business idea, we capture business ideas in what's something called a lean canvas, and I'll actually just put a screen. I'll present that on the screen, and I'll just show people what a lean canvas looks like. So if I share it on here. So lean canvas is, and Chris, do you want to talk through what a lean canvas is, or
yeah, it's like a structured notice board, if you like, where you can pin things under different headings, which are factors that you need to bear in mind when you're thinking about launching a business. And the reason for using a lean canvas rather than just going for it is that you've got no idea what you're doing unless you actually write it down somewhere. And the alternative to having a lean canvas is to spend a lot of money writing an extensive business plan, which isn't really necessary. Because if you have a business plan, you might think it's one and done, and then you just stick with that and you go to a bank manager and they give you some money. Whereas that's not actually what's useful, especially in the 21st century when we're dealing with such rapid change, especially on technological side of things. So you've got something here which is a rough and ready document, which is full of great information, but it's also reactive and agile, and it means that you can change things quite easily if you want to.
Yeah, and what I like about this business tool as such, this one-page business tool, where you can almost put sticky notes on, is you've got these sections that are so important. What is the problem that you're trying to solve for your customers? And that's so important to think about that. A lot of people are just going straight into their idea as a solution, but gets founders thinking about the problem that they're solving. The customer segments, who are the different segments that they're solving this problem for? Then they can come to, well, what solutions make sense? What value propositions? Why have I got an unfair advantage? And all the different aspects of an idea and putting it into a business framework. So these are really good business framework tools to start with, and to put your idea down. And something else on that, Chris, is so how does the lean canvas help you mentor founders? So as a mentor, when you see a founder's lean canvas.
Well, I mean, the whole premise of 12 Ronnies is to reduce the possibility of startup founders failing when they launch a business.
Yeah.
And the lean canvas essentially, reduces those risks, and it reduces the risk of people failing and running out of money or wasting time or resources or energy and whatever, because you're focusing all your attention onto something which is going to help you succeed. And essentially, but these all what you put into the lean canvas, they give you opportunities to they're almost like icebreakers for starting conversations, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the benefits of lean canvases that I wrote down was it makes you agile, means that you can rapidly iterate or change things in the canvas. It's an opportunity to give, to clarify your communications. It makes you think hard about what you're actually doing and what you're offering. It also makes your resource allocation really efficient because you have to think about it, and it challenges you and makes you address any potential risks that might be in the business. So in a way, it gives you a focus to your conversations, is what I would say.
Yeah.
And then the outcomes of the conversation is that the pre-launch founder goes back and improves the lean canvas. So it's kind of like it's an ongoing kind of circular conversation, really.
it's iterative until you've got a canvas you're happy with.
Yeah.
And then Chris, from there, so as we're finishing up now, last two questions here. What do founders do next? So they've had some mentoring from let's say yourself or other mentors. You've captured your idea in the lean canvas. You've gone through it iteratively. What's the next stage when you're happy with your canvas?
Yeah, well, I guess again it depends on where you are at the end of that process. So it may be that you're just at the next stage pre-launch. So what I would do at that point is I would retake the quiz.
Yes.
So if you've developed or you've validated your idea, then maybe the next stage is you need some advice via the quiz as to how to go about getting investment, and then you can get access to the other resources. So the quiz isn't a kind of one time and done thing. It's a kind of thing to take maybe once a quarter. Maybe you should take the quiz once every 3 months. So there's that. And then we've got other resources. So if you want to talk to other people, talk to other mentors, meet other pre-launch founders, then we've got the Founders and Mentors community, which offers the platform, which offers different communities, courses, events, opportunities to network, all kinds of things like that. We've got other tools within the universe. So we've got Ideas Nest, which is a way of capturing new ideas. We've got Resource Finder, which is a resource for finding people who are available to do mentoring for you on a more ad hoc basis, and the new AI tools, which I'm sure you'll talk about more, Simon. And then we have some sort of bigger ticket items which are available for sale as well. So if you want some advice with writing reports for idea validation, then that's a service that you can buy from us. And also we've developed a new launch plan offer, which is much more integrated resource for people who are really serious about sprinting towards launching.
Yes.
And
there's our Founders and Mentors community as well, isn't there?
Yeah. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's a dynamic place to hang out, and also within that we've got other sort of side shit. There are other. I've not talked about the whole thing. I mean,
no. I was just what they do next. Really, we're not talking about the whole.
Yeah. It's essentially that you need to sit back and decide where am I in my journey to launching, and if you haven't launched, then there are probably other things that 12 Ronnies offers that could be useful to you on launching successfully.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Chris, thank you very much for the for answering these questions and helping us understand the mentoring process, capturing business ideas, getting involved with 12 Ronnies and the quiz. If people want to get hold of you, how can they engage you as a mentor?
Okay, well, there's a number of different things. There's, I'm an active user of the Founders and Mentors platform, so you can get hold of me there. You can join the platform. I'm sure we'll put a link in the chat for people to join the Founders and Mentors, and just drop me a note. Send me a message. In the chat. Also, you can come along to one of my Wisdom of Coffee sessions, so you can chat with me in person over Zoom if you want to do that. And then we've got various kind of like today we're doing a 12 Ronnies podcast. I'm also the host of several other podcasts, and you can come along and find out more about the kind of things that I support in my own channels if you attend some of those. And also watch out for the new service that we'll be offering quite soon, the new premium mentoring service that we're going to be bringing on stream very soon. But I would say at the moment, the best place to get hold of me is via Founders and Mentors.
Right, brilliant. Okay, well, that's actually, I'll just put up the Founders and Mentors website here if people want to click onto that. So it's community.12ronnies.com. Chris, thank you very much. And if anybody's got any further questions when they're watching this in video format, just put them in the comments. We check them regularly, and we'll do our best to get back to you.
Yeah, thanks very much everybody. Bye.